now we're going to move on to The Outer Worlds. We've all been playing this one, so we're going to probably spend a little bit of time talking about it. So this is the Obsidian game that was announced last year at the Game Awards, and is, without any shame, hiding it, or anything like that, a essentially spiritual follow-up to Fallout New Veges, which was the Bethesda-era Fallout game that they developed, which came out after Fallout 3. And yeah, it is that almost to a T from a like RPG standpoint, like the dialogue the dialogue options and the way it's presented is pulled directly from the 3D Fallout, first-person Fallout games, and even the gameplay, like the shooting and stuff, feels kind of like those games, even though I think it feels a little bit better. The thing that's majorly different is the setting. This is taking place in a fictional solar system called Halcyon, and it's been colonized by a bunch of evil capitalist corporations. And you're kind of like this rogue scientist unfreezes you from this colony ship that is kind of like derelict, floating out in space with all of these other people supposedly on it. I guess they're dead or something, I'm not really sure, but he releases you and kind of sends you out to be his foil for these corporations and to do some things for him, but you're kind of left to kind of find your own way through these scenarios. And the game's broken up into a bunch of planets, all taking place, all located in this Halcyon system. And yeah, it's very so in terms of like other big differences from the Fallout games, it's like the color palette is very vibrant, very colorful, very alive, versus the drab wasteland of Fallout. And overall, I've found it to be kind of this great mix of new and old. Like it feels familiar. Like as soon as I started playing the game, like as soon as they give you control, everything felt familiar because I've played these games for so long. Like I didn't really like Fallout 4 that much, but Fallout 3 and New Vegas I liked a lot. So I played them for, hundreds of hours. So jumping into this, everything just felt right. I understood all of the menus, like encumbrance, and putting points into my dialogue will give me more communication options so I can lie or persuade and get access to more stuff. And all of that just worked. So really the only thing that was different was the setting, which I think is really cool. Like really, like I said, really colorful. All the planets look unique. There's even space stations that are like almost full cities inside of a space station, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so really the only thing that was a little bit unfamiliar to me was the setting and the characters, and obviously the weapons and the armor and stuff like that. All of that's a little bit different, but yeah, I'm really enjoying this game. I play these games very slowly. I'm like probably 15 hours, and I've only gotten to the second actual planet, which is Monarch. But yeah, that's just because I'm going through and exploring every single nook and cranny that I can find in these locations. Yeah, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on it? Similar, or do you hate it? What's up? Come at me.
No, I definitely have some similar thoughts on it. As soon as like you said, as soon as you start playing it, you get that Fallout feel. So you kind of like fall into it because
you fall in.
Oh my God.
Good night, everyone.
All right, I quit again. You just kind of get into your groove.
Yeah.
Because you're used to it. It's just, it feels natural. But like the different things they've done, like, you know, obviously it's not Fallout, so you don't have the VAT system, but now you have that like time slowdown thing you can do, which you're not really sure what the hell it is. You can just start doing it.
Yeah, the tactical time dilation.
Yeah,
which is like some side effect of the dethawing process from the colony ship, and like you can just slow down time.
Yeah, and I've been enjoying using that. Like, I never really used VATS in Fallout.
Oh, really?
I found it super annoying.
Oh man, I don't even know how you could play that game without using VATS.
Dude, no, I've never used VATS in that. Like, I think I tried to. Like, I actually sat down for a bit in 4 and tried using it. I was like, nah, I don't like this. Whatever.
That's like 90% of that game for me is VATS, and then headshot. Like, tap it really fast, and then just blow everybody's head off.
No, so the fact that it's like this weird slowdown thing you can do, and you can control it a lot more. I like using that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like I haven't really been, I guess I really haven't been upgrading it, but I feel like it lasts such a short amount of time, especially when you first start out.
It does, until you get like a couple points into different things that like will affect it.
Yeah. Sometimes I even forget that I have it.
Yeah, I did for a bit until I started getting into more like combat situations. Because there'll be some spots, you know, where you go through and there isn't really, you go through a couple times and there isn't much after you go through once. But once you get a little further in, like, more stuff starts showing up, and I was like, oh, I want to use this. Okay, I can hit this barrel, I can hit this guy. You know, I can really go for those headshots without worrying if it's going to miss or something, because it's that VAT system.
Yeah, and it like will highlight their critical areas.
Yeah, and it gives you like it also gives you all that information on them. Like, it has the little, like, what would we call it? Like a card that pops
like a
up,
tooltip.
an info card. Yeah. And you can see like the health going down as you're shooting them too. It's giving you the tips, telling you what they're weak to and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's, you know, that's their VATS equivalent, which is, isn't that kind of how they adapted VATS for Fallout 76?
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
76.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't remember Fallout 76 at all.
Yeah. What a week for the Outer Worlds and Fallout 76, when the week that the Outer Worlds came out was the same week Fallout 76 had that pay for server DLC thing come out, and it's like, here's this spiritual successor that really everyone that likes Fallout wanted, getting like, you know, 9s and high 8s on Metacritic, and the headlines for Fallout 76 are, their subscription service is totally broken. It doesn't do half the stuff that people wanted it to do, and they're asking you to pay money for it.
Yeah, it doesn't work. They can't connect.
Yeah.
Having all sorts of issues playing through it.
Yeah, so that's another reason why, you know, this game's kind of nice and refreshing. It's like coming home, you know, after you've been at college or away for a while, coming home and getting a nice visit to something you're familiar with. So I guess we should explain a little bit, is like, this isn't like a huge giant open world like Fallout. Each planet you go to and each location is like a smaller version of, like, say, like the first planet is like, say, maybe like a quarter of a Fallout map or something like that. Like, you can go around and you can explore, but it's not as big, or I would say probably overall probably not as dense either than what you would expect from a Fallout map.
Right.
So what that means is everywhere there you probably are going to find something that has some sort of, you know, scripted content, like a quest or some cool secret or something like that. And I think that works in the game's favor a little bit, because you spend a little bit more time exploring all the little nooks and crannies as opposed to just walking past them. And there's like, even in that first area, the first city, there's, you know, stuff hidden around in the city too. Like they went around and they hid treasure chests here, like not treasure chests, but chests here and there. And, you know, there's like a little bit of verticality. You can jump on boxes and there'll be stuff up there too. That Groundbreaker, that first space station you go to, there's a whole area up above the main gateway, and there's like I got like a high level melee weapon out of a crate up there, and stuff like that. So there's stuff you can explore, which is, you know, there's obviously stuff in the Fallout games, but they always seem to be more like, you know, tailored for just the areas you had missions in. You know, you'd go into a building, and then that building would be complex. You'd be able to find secrets in it and stuff like that. But that mentality didn't really filter out into the bigger open world as much as it does in this, which is just pretty cool. So I'm enjoying that. Which is why it takes me so long to get through games like this, because I'm just poking in every single corner.
And the one thing that's good about this game, which I've kind of noticed so far, especially coming from having played all the other Fallouts, is everything that you do seems to have more of a purpose towards like the goal of what you're doing. Like you have this overarching story that's going on, but then you have like these side things that you can do, but in some way they all contribute to possible outcomes and stuff that could either help you or hinder you in the main story. Unlike to where like in Fallout you could go out, find this random quest, and all of a sudden it's something way off over here that also branches out but doesn't have anything to do with what your main goal was.
It's kind of like the giant RPG symptom of you're here to save the world from total oblivion, but first I need to collect all of this Nern root. And it's made me want to like seek out and get some of those quests too, because like one of the big interesting points of this is like the dialogue choices you have and the characters that you interact with are all very rich and vibrant, and you know, depending how high your skills are for like lying, persuading. You can get away with so much in this game if you put points into your dialogue.
Yeah, it's just like, I murdered a town and I walked out of it last night.
And then one guy comes up to you and is like, "What are you doing here?" And you're like, "I'm not doing nothing." "Oh, right. Okay, see you later." It's ridiculous, like, but like it also is fully aware of how ridiculous it is. Like this isn't the dour down and out world of Fallout. This is like, what did I say?
It's
Futurama. This is like a Futurama version of these games where everyone's a little bit weird. The setting is definitely off, and even without you being there, it's just a little bit crazy that stuff like this is going on. And then you just kind of, you know, you go into it and you just kind of move through this already existing kind of ridiculous place and can cause even more ridiculous stuff to happen. And I think that that's also a great distinction between this and those games, is that, you know, it's not really taking itself seriously. It does tackle some serious issues with, like, I mean, one of the first characters you meet is this guy digging graves outside of the city, and he explains that this city's owned by this extremely extremely crappy but hugely profit-driven company that everybody has to work at this canning facility, and when they die, people actually have to pay like rent for their grave site, and it's like it's like super it's like super like late capitalist, like dystopia kind of situation, but also you can kind of tell them to like fuck off, I don't care.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of freedom of choice. Like, you can go through and you can follow one line of dialogue and complete a task, and then you could come back, re-influence something there, and then go back to the other person and be like, oh yeah, you didn't want me to do this. I did what you didn't want me to do, but this is how I fixed it. I did this, so now you can go do your thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of this is, I mean, in that same sense, this is a game that you want to keep multiple saves of. So if you screw something up, you can go back and fix it. I think I have like 4 or 5 different saves because of some choices. I was like, I want to see how this plays out, but let's save first. Oh, I never overwrite anything pretty much. I probably got like 50 saves that I could go back to, like probably the very beginning of the game if I wanted to. That's how I play most of these types of games. Like, oh my god, you should have seen how many save games I had for The Witcher 3 by the time I was done with that game. Like, I think my save folder was like over a gig in
save folder's bigger than the game.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. It was crazy.
He's got like a board behind him with all of his choices mapped out. And he's like, save 1, save 2, save this time.
Yeah, I got all this rumor board with strings attached to it, and like, yeah. But that's I don't know. That's just how I do it, because it's like sometimes you figure something out, and then you're like, oh shit, that fucking sucks. I didn't want that to happen, and then you have to think about like, well, how far back do I have to go to fix that?
Yeah, that's happened a couple times.
And then it's like, oh, that's like 6 hours back that I need to go
there's
back.
This awesome choice here. I need 10 more points. Fuck, I need to go level. Can I back out of this conversation? I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, there's that too. Or like a door you want to open, you only need 1 more tech point to do it or something like that. So you're like, how can I do this? Like, oh, I just leveled up and I put 5 points into dialogue. I'll just put 4 this time. I'll roll back. I'll put 4, and I'll put the extra point into tech, and I'll be able to pick the lock or something like that.
Yeah. And I like that
Gear's
more simplistic in this. Like,
you can have there's
4 weapons.
There's a lot less variety in gear and weapons and stuff. It's kind of like you have your one like assault rifle, and you'll just keep getting the same assault rifles and upgrading them and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you can, we can equip 4 of those, and then for armor you just have pretty much body and a helmet.
Yeah. And then you can also mod it. You can put mods on your equipment that give you perks and extra bonuses and stuff like that. It's a little bit disappointing that there isn't some more variety to the weapons and armor, because I've kind of just had the same loadout the entire game, with some exceptions. But it's also better than like, how like Fallout and even Elder Scrolls handles it, where you just get you're just laden with so much junk that you don't need, and you just you have to find a merchant and just sell it all, because you just don't need the level 2 leather armor that you just got off this bandit or something like that.
Yeah.
The inventory is okay. It's a little most of it's okay. I think the biggest problem I have with it is the the consumable section of the inventory, where you're picking up all this food and drink and stuff like that, and so much of it has like the same properties. Like, there's like 3 different types of food that give you the same bonuses, and it takes up, it puts you toward your weight limit. So like I've gotten to a point where I'm just not picking up any food or drinks or anything. The only thing I'm picking up is the health pack that you breathe in with the inhaler. Because it was just getting so full and it was like weighing me down so much.
Yeah, I don't think I've even touched like any of that because you can put in like those to kind of modify what that does when you heal.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how it works because I did have stuff up there, and like there's no way to switch it. Like there's no like wheel or anything that comes up that says, okay, now I want to put in this thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it actually changes it, how you change it.
And then the perks, like there's a decent amount of perks in the game that you can choose from when you're upgrading, but like how often you get those points is a lot less than you'd think for what they have there and what they give you to choose from. Like I really find myself like, oh, this would be awesome.
It's every 2 levels you get a perk point.
Okay, is it every 2?
Yeah, it's every 2, and you get like, 10 skill points every time you level up, which is pretty kind of a lot.
The skill points is a lot, but choosing those perks, it's like there's a lot of them I want and a lot of them you could use, but then it's like
you got to be picky and choosy. That's how those were too. The older games were too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but even when you look at them, a lot of them, like when you get into the second tier, they're just better versions of the one that were in tier 1 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a lot, but it's actually kind of
just stacking up.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, you can just kind of mainline through it if you wanted to. Lee, you haven't even said anything yet. We've kind of hijacked it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, all right. So that's the Outer Worlds.
I will say, I'm listening to your play. I do like this. I originally liked Fallout 3. I did really like New Vegas, so that made me a bit iffy going in.
You didn't like New Vegas?
This is a lot more kind of faster paced in a weird way, kind of a lot more lighter, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. They streamlined a lot, and they kind of it gets up and running a lot quicker than when the Fallout games do.
It's a lot more satisfying with the gunplay, like you say. I do like the colour palette they have. It almost reminds me a little bit of some of the planets you go on in No Man's Sky. And stuff like that. The weird purples and sort of things.
Mm-hmm. The visual treatment is definitely a little No Man's Sky.
There is something weird that I have though, and I think it's just a taste thing, and it's just me. It's not a fault of the game. I find the world, even though I know it's open world, I find it a little bit claustrophobic in a weird way. That's just the disconnect that I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way it's sometimes segmented, maybe.
Yeah. It isn't really open world. It's like a bunch of smaller areas, and
almost Borderlands in a weird way. The way they segment.
It is a lot like that. I don't know what to call these types of games because, like I said, they're not technically open world because you can't just go anywhere at any time. So they're like, it's like a bunch of mini open worlds that you need to go to like a hub to then fast travel to or something like that. I don't know what to I guess the other thing to talk about with the game is like it's got a very much like a Firefly feel to it, like the Joss Whedon joint. And like you're building a crew, and the very first crew member you get is basically Kaylee from that game. I mean that show. And you're even like, the goal is to get your own ship at the beginning of the game, and then you get your crew together and you just start sailing the universe, the galaxy or solar system. It's not that big. It's just a solar system. So yeah, it's got that tone to it, which kind of goes into the humor tone we were talking about before. And then the companions are actually really great characters. if you get to talk to them and get to know them and figure out their quirks, their preferences, their their backstories and stuff like that. They have their own, like, kind of like Mass Effect, their own companion quest lines that you can follow and go down, which is pretty cool. And they're pretty good in combat too. They each have like a special ability that can like really like get in there and do like a big hit on the enemy, which is good as like a surprise attack to start out combat and stuff like that. So yeah.
I like one of the things too from the game that just struck me as it was funny, and I was like, oh, I like this. It's like the disconnect from Earth. There is like a line where they're like, well, what about any transmissions from Earth? And they're like, Earth? Who cares about Earth? We're not getting anything from them. And I was like, oh, that's just kind of funny. Like, they know that they're out there. They don't care that Earth's all the way back there. This is their areas. This is what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like an overall story of like there's the evil board that's controlling all the companies in the Halcyon Galaxy, and not a galaxy, it's just a solar system. Stop calling it a galaxy, Ryan. And Halcyon and everything like that. And there's even like factions in this game that if you do favors for like the first town you get to, which is Edgewater, if you do favors for them, your faction rep will go up with it, people in Edgewater, or Spacer's Choice, which is the company that controls the town. And then like you can get in good with the board as well, and be a kind of like the opposite of what the crazy scientist that unfroze you wants you to be, and kind of like side with the board and continue to oppress the people with capitalism, so to speak.
Yeah, it's weird. I could kind of almost compare it to like the storylines you'd get from like the Gundam series, as far as like the animated series versus the games, because it kind of deals with the same thing. So if you'd like take their stories but take out the whole Gundam aspect of it, it's kind of like you can kind of compare this a little bit too to how like the setup of it is. I guess I kind of hit like a little
with that.
It's kind of the same thing. Like you have these corporations and they're battling it out. It's just like who controls the Gundams. This one, it's who controls the people and the areas. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. That's kind of like the first thing that popped in my head when I started playing. I was like, oh, this would set up cool for something like this if there was a game for that. This would be a pretty neat representation of how they could pull it off.
The Outer Worlds, but also with flying robots?
Expansion, DLC. I want it. I want it.
Yeah.
It's hard to find any cons for this, isn't there, really? There's
cons?
niggles you can have. Yeah, like pros and cons. It's hard to find any real beast with it. It's a really solid package.
Yeah, well, I guess the other huge difference between this and the Fallout games is that this game works.
Oh, it is. Good.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had any bugs. Like, there's sometimes when I kill an enemy and their body goes flipping out in a weird way, but that's just like normal shit.
Yeah.
But like, I haven't had any quests glitch out. I haven't had any like anything like that not work. I haven't had a crash once. I've been playing on PC, on the Windows Store through the Game Pass for PC, and the performance has been amazing. Like from the very beginning, it was excellent, and the game looks really great. And yeah, it just works, which is not a good state. Yeah, which is like not something you can always say for these types of games, I guess.
Yeah, especially lately, you've been seeing a lot of these games pop up, and people will run into stuff where all of a sudden quest progress stops. Oh,
yeah, I mean that's like
me in Sinking City. It just happened. over our Halloween stream, I went on, tried to stream the game, picked up from where I was, and the quest would not progress. And in that game, you have to have your progress or nothing's happening.
Yeah. I mean, just like, I could, right now, I could load up my original, very first Skyrim save and show you like 3 quests that are bugged that are forever in my quest log that I can never complete. Because there's nothing I can do. I go to where I'm supposed to go, and whatever behind the scenes is supposed to trigger doesn't trigger, which is like maddeningly frustrating.
You'll get a chance to do them again in the next edition.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I never bought that game on another platform. I get my original PC version, and that's it.
I have.
They didn't get me.
Fortunately, it on everything. It's on the Switch. It's on. No, I don't. Do I have it on PC? I might. And I have it on PlayStation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is there anything else we want to talk about with the game, or is that it? I mean, I know we've only talked about pretty much great things. But honestly, there's been so little that I have to complain about it. It's all just like very nitpicky stuff, like that inventory management, and like, the guns and the equipment I wish were a little bit, there's more variety there, but everything else has been pretty spot on for me.
It's just niggles. Really, it's just niggles.
Yeah.
Bring on part 2?
Yeah. They haven't announced any DLC or anything like that. I wonder. Well, now they're under Microsoft, so I wonder what their next thing's going to be. I wonder if it's going to be more of this, or if it's going to be something completely different. This seems like it's pretty successful, so hopefully maybe they can make like a 2-team studio or something like that, where one team can keep working on Outer Worlds, and another team can work on like their more PC focused RPGs or something like that.
Yep.
All right, well, that was The Outer Worlds, a game that is definitely going to be on my top 10 list of the year. Thank you for joining us in this very special episode of Voxel Viewpoint. If you'd like to hear or see more, please consider subscribing to us on your favorite podcast app, subscribing to us on YouTube, or visiting voxelvoice.com, where all of our great content comes together in one place. Also check out the Voxel Voice Facebook group, where you can join in on the discussion with a great, like-minded community.